Tip number 6, improve your page speed and reduce the bounce rate. So let's talk about page speed and how page speed correlates with higher bounce rate if it's a high page load. And so according to Crazy, page speed is an important overlooked SEO tactic because for every second delay in page load can result in 11% fewer page views, 60% decrease in customer satisfaction, 7% decline in conversion rate. So, you can see here, regardless of how specific the numbers are, when you have a page that loads slow, you're going to have lower user engagement and a poor user experience. So you have to pay attention to page speed. And so since 2010, Google has been using page speed as a factor for page ranking in the search engine results. So here's some tips to focus on making sure your pages are optimal in terms of speed. So enable browser caching. Okay, you can reduce plugins if you're using WordPress as an example. Disable plugins you're not using. Using a simple website design, going back to tip number 5, stick with CSS and HTML. Don't do anything fancy in terms of technology because it's only going to complicate matters. Optimize your code, minify files, meaning, hey, if you're not using any code, just get rid of it because code has to execute and that slows down page load time. So if your website has numerous CSS and JavaScript files, basically minify and combine them. And that's what we're talking about there. You don't necessarily need a lot of, JavaScript on your page. You can leverage Google Tag Manager or, other features that help minimize the number of JavaScript files you have. And so you can also get some of these ideas by going into Google Analytics. So in Analytics, under behavior, under site speed, under page timings, you can basically see how quick each page loads. And then if you click on speed suggestions right below page timings, what happens is Google's going to actually give you some suggested ways to increase speed. So if we let this report load, we'll be able to see some speed suggestions per page. And so here you can see, for example, the home page has an average page load time of 4.89 seconds. You can see right next to that, we have page speed suggestions, 7 total. So if we click on that, basically what it's going to do, it's going to launch another Google product called Page Speed Insights. And what Page Speed Insights is going to do is it's going to analyze the page in question, whether that be the home page or an interior page. And what they're actually going to do is not only analyze the desktop version of your website, but also the mobile version. And so now we could see opportunities to improve our page speed by making sure the images are properly sized, making sure server response time is changed. Again, defer unused CSS, not using CSS or getting rid of CSS or minifying it. So there's lots of things you can do. And again, this is desktop and mobile. So on the mobile side, we could see some of the other issues too that are causing high page load. And so analytics, site speed reports, page speed insights are good ways to get an idea, really excellent ways to really address page load time issues. So again, these are just some of the common issues with page load time. There could be other factors. So leaning on those page speed insights reports will definitely help reduce page load time. So basically, according to Google, a website should have, time to first byte lesser than 200 milliseconds. Milliseconds is very, very fast. So in case your website is slower than 200 milliseconds, such as 500 milliseconds or more, you need to improve it. So you don't even have to measure it by milliseconds. You can even go by seconds, which is what most of us count time. And again, you can see that simply going into 4 seconds or less, 3 seconds or less, obviously as fast as possible. So case study, Walmart. Walmart reported the following results. So Walmart experienced a 2% increase in conversions for every 1 second of page speed improvement. So think about that. There's definitely correlation between page load time and in speed, in conversions and user engagement. So the quicker your page loads, the higher the engagement. So with that improvement, they also experienced an increment in revenue. So meaning the pages load, people had a better user experience, they were able to check out easier, and that led to more revenue. So they were able to measure revenue against milliseconds. And that's something you can certainly do in analytics. You can correlate revenue with bounce rate. You can correlate revenue with page speed. Tip number 7, build quality links and increase the domain authority of your website. So Google's top 3 search ranking factors includes link building. So you need to have quality links from quality sites pointing to your site. And so that's a factor in terms of ranking. So that falls under off-page SEO. You need to build references and links on quality sites. And so building quality links to your content can give your product or category pages or even content or blog posts a boost in the SERPs. So it's all about quality over quantity. So it's always building quality links, not quantity. So let's talk about what kind of strategies you should implement. So if you implement these strategies, then you're going to likely see a lift in the SERPs. So earn backlinks from relevant and authoritative web pages. So what's authoritative? Well, authoritative is subjective to some degree, but it's also measurement in others. So you could use Moz as a good tool to measure page authority or domain authority. So if I go into Moz, Moz has a page and domain authority score between 1 and 100. And so you can actually see what sites have good domain or page authority just by entering in the domain. So relevant, you obviously want to rank to something that's relevant. So if you're in the food industry, something food related. You want to promote your content regularly on social media. So social media, I always consider it a low-hanging fruit when it comes to backlinking. You know, there's so many different social media platforms available. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. There's so many varieties from images to Pinterest and Instagram to video, being YouTube. So there's lots of ways to get your content out on social media that will allow you to not only promote your brand, build a community, but also establish a reference back to that page. You can opt for guest blogging. Okay, so you can reach out to another blogger and blog on that platform. And it can be reciprocal as well. A blogger can certainly, blog on your platform and have a link back, and it works both ways. Influencer marketing. So influencer marketing is working with somebody who has a large amount of followers who can influence those followers to, mention you in a hashtag, link to your particular product or brand, or even drive traffic to your site. So you want to take advantage of social media platforms and start your own page as well. So Facebook's a good example. It could be having a YouTube channel. If you're into video, you can certainly set up a YouTube channel, build a following around YouTube as well. So always start your own page if that's the platform of choice. The last thing you should do is set up a page on social media and not keep it updated. You can certainly participate in forums. You can participate in other websites like Quora or Reddit. That's very, content-based, content-driven, user-driven. I always recommend starting your own blog. Blog is a good way to not only generate content, but it's a good way to incorporate different types of content. So you could set up different types of content and categories. It's a good way to incorporate different assets like images and video. It's a good way to get users engaged by having comments or having social share buttons. It's a good way to leverage that content onto other social media platforms. So there's lots of benefits to blogging, very few cons. The only con would be a time constraint. But it's better to have one blog post in 1 month consistently than not blogging at all. So getting listed on high quality link directories like Yahoo directory is still a way to add a link from a high quality site. And then make use of broken link building. So again, on the last tip, we mentioned Search Console. Search Console certainly has reports available for you that allow you to see what pages on your site are no longer there and allow you to see what pages they're linking from. Okay? You can also do testimonials. There's lots of ways to generate quality links. In a way, you almost have to get creative, but creative in a way that's going to generate quality, not quantity. Quality is the key. So even if it's one source, whether that be somebody else's blog, so be it. As long as it's quality, that's what counts. So let's talk about some of the key takeaways from today's tips. So remember, tip number 1, we want to opt for smarter ways to do keyword research. So remember, we want to look at volume, we want to look at competition, we want to create themes, put them in a spreadsheet. So we want to be smarter in the way in which we choose our keyword. Tip number 2, remember, publish high quality content to get more traffic. When we say high quality content, remember, break up the content, use different assets, organize it, structure it, make sure it's answering somebody's questions. Then we talked about in tip number 3, analyzing your meta tags and URLs. So we want to make sure that title tag, meta descriptions are creative. Use modifiers like numbers or promotions. We don't want to go over character counts. We want to make them unique and distinct so that somebody clicks on them. Then we talked about rich snippets in tip number 4. Remember, rich snippets are just additional HTML that communicates the search engine. So the search engines can understand exactly what's on your page. So if you have recipes, if you have reviews, if you have videos, if you have images, if you have ratings, all these things can be added to the SERPs just by communicating with the search engines via rich snippets. Tip 5, optimize your site structure. We want to make sure that you have good inbound links. You want to make sure you incorporate breadcrumbs. You want to make sure users can navigate your site more easily. And then in tip number 6, if your pages load fast, then it's going to enhance the user experience. It's going to increase user engagement and increase conversions. And then tip number 7, we want to build quality links. Quality to increase the domain authority. So remember, we can use mods to measure domain authority. It's all about quality, whether that be via influencer marketing, guest blogging, directories, social media, setting up a social media page. There's always something you could be doing to generate a quality link to your website.